Okay, let's go ahead and kick it off. Today is January 11, 2024. This is the meeting of the Kubernetes Storage Special Interest Group. As a reminder, this meeting is public, recorded, and posted on YouTube. Today's agenda, we're going to focus on 130 planning. So we finished up 129 before the holidays. That release is out. And now we're starting the Kubernetes 130 release. I created a new tab in our planning spreadsheet, and we'll go through that today. And if there's any items you think we should add, let's add that. And if there's items we need to edit or remove, we can certainly do that as well. In terms of timeline, this release cycle has just started on the 8th. The production freeze is going to be on the 1st of January, or sorry, the 1st of February. This means we need to have the features that we're going to be adding to the new release declared by the state. Sorry, that's when the production review should be done by. The feature declaration needs to be done by the 8th of February. And then code freeze is going to be on the 5th of March, and the final release is going to be on the 17th of April. If you have anything you want to add to the agenda, feel free to add it either to any of these sections below. The link to the agenda doc is in your calendar invite. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to our planning doc. So we have the 130 tab here. I've pre-populated it with items from past releases that either aren't complete or were completed with alpha beta designations. If you have anything that you want to add, feel free to speak up and we can add it at the bottom. So let's go through this list one by one and see if we want to commit to it for this cycle. The first item here is recovery from resize failure. For 130, I believe we want to stay in alpha. The API changes were merged in 128. I think the last status update here was remain in alpha for 130 to address API concerns. Hemant, are you on the call?
Yeah. So there was some API concerns raised by Tim Hawkins in mainly about the flip-flopping of states. So like if expansion on controller fails and then the controller tries resize again, then the API status, resize status goes from controller expansion failed, it goes back to controller expansion in progress when it retries. So I think the concerns were like it should not flip flop and it should be monotonic. I don't know if that's the right word, but yeah, so we need to address that, but at the same time, that changes the flow. Like, how do we reason about what status the PBC was in and things like that? So, yeah.
Got it. Yeah, sounds like it's more of a fundamental concern on how to handle this sort of flow. Cool. Thanks, Hemant. I assume you're going to continue to work on this for this cycle, or is someone else going to pick this up?
No, I'll continue to work on this. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you. Next, we have volume group API. It was supposed to go to design or alpha last cycle, but we dropped it.
Oh, it is already alpha. It's just we are trying to finish up something in the sidecar. So it's going to stay. It's going to stay in alpha.
Stay in alpha. Okay.
Yeah.
So
We're evolving the alpha API, right?
We'll need to, yeah, that's something that we need to make some changes, yeah, to the alpha API. Yeah.
So it's like alpha 1 and alpha 2, although I don't know if that'll be explicit in the API because it doesn't need to be. But
we may need to, yeah, if we change.
As long as it's not backwards incompatible, I think we can just directly evolve it. That's my opinion.
So, the kep.yaml in the repository for this bottom group snapshot says beta 129. Is that inaccurate?
No, that was because when we, when you initially submit the cap, you're going to have some, expected beta, and normally you just add like one release, right? But that's normally not true. But that's not like the current. I think you need to look at the what is like the latest status, which should be 1.27. That's when we last updated the cap.
Yeah. No, the problem is this is out of feature, so it doesn't have a feature gate in Kubernetes that we can look up also. So it's like it's bit so yeah, let's update the cap.yaml in the enhancement repository also, like in the cap repository.
Because yeah, the future state, maybe I don't know if we should just actually remove those, because the future state, if you haven't even started that, what does it mean to have those? Normally, I think we write a cap, we have like alpha, beta, GA, right? Maybe those future states should not even be filled out. If that's possible, I don't know about if they're checking any formatting, and if that's actually required to
Yeah.
be filled out. I need to check that. Yeah, I can update that.
Yeah. I just yeah. Cool.
All right, thanks. And Xing, are you still the right person to drive this one?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So we'll keep that in alpha, do a new alpha for volume group API. Next is provision volumes from cross namespace snapshot for snapshot PVC. Continue working on design. The last update we had on this one was need to pull in reference grant work. KEP is open and in discussion. Same question here. Should we continue working on this for this cycle? And is Mustafa still the right person to own it?
I believe he's working on the reference grant, trying to move that to I think it's trying to move that to core API or something. I actually forgot exactly what he's doing, something with that reference grant API.
Got it. Okay, then we'll continue to track it for this cycle, and I guess we'll wait for the dependency to get unblocked, and the goal of this cycle would still be design here. Or should we target an alpha?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly how far we are.
That's
Probably
fine.
Michelle knows.
Let's leave it at
Michelle,
design for now. Michelle, do you have any other information?
no, looks like she is in the meeting.
Yeah, looks like she's not on the call. Okay, let's jump to the next one. We are looking at CSI volume health, additional metrics and or events. Last update here was it was work in progress. Someone started work on it but hadn't updated it for a while. So
Yeah, I need to ask this person who's working on this. If she doesn't have cycles, maybe I need to find someone else
got it.
to help.
Okay, so once we have an update on that, we can figure out whether to continue this or drop it. Thank you, Xing. Next, we have change block tracking. Trying to get the CSI spec PR merged. Still in review was the latest status, getting close. So I think we'll continue this cycle and hopefully get that in.
Yeah, so we do want to target alpha.
Okay.
So we actually discussed this yesterday in the data production group meeting. So I wonder if should we just now start request a new repo for this, because this one will need a new repo under Kubernetes CSI. Do we have to wait until the CSI spec PR get merged, or do we think we are good and we can just start the
I think we
process
can just do
now?
that in parallel, honestly. I don't know why
Okay.
this would be a blocker. I would say we should just request a new one and
Okay.
put on that.
Okay. I think the second question is, do maybe we cannot make a decision up, but maybe I don't know if we have other features that we need to make a CSS spec change. So let's say if we get the CSS spec PR finally merged, can we cut the release, or do we need to wait for other changes now, because now it's 1.30?
Yeah,
any
that's a
question.
good question. I think we should put a date in the ground and kind of aim for that.
Mhm.
And if there's other stuff that comes up, we can wait for it.
Okay.
I don't know what else we want to get in for the next release, but maybe we could discuss that in the next CSI meeting.
Okay. I don't know if Ben has anything to add for this.
Hey, sorry, my connection is unstable and I just dropped and came back. What was the question?
Oh, do you have anything to add for the CBT? We were just saying that we are going to request a new repo now, we don't have to be blocked by the
Yeah, I mean, but
PR.
we want to get one more thumbs up from James, and I need to put my stamp on the CSI change, but I'm not worried about it at this point. It'll get done.
Okay. Thanks.
Cool, thank you both. Next, we have enable privileged containers for Windows to replace CSI proxy for Windows. This was design, I think last comment was from Manu. Might be able to pick this up early in the new year. Not sure about the exact timeline. I don't know if Manu's on the call. Okay, I'm just gonna copy over that comment and then we can discuss with him next time. All right, next is SE Linux relabeling using mount options, keep in beta on by default in 129. And last status here was to keep it in beta for 129. So for 130, do we want to keep it in beta or do you want to move it?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
I may need a API change, and I need to figure out how to change a beta API, if it is possible or not. And that will drive the future development. So maybe.
Okay, so let me start tracking it. And what we'll say is we'll keep it in beta for this cycle. And if we need to change that, we'll change it.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay, beta. All right, cool. Thank you, Jan. Next, we have CSI migration stuff that we've been waiting on. So for 130, we are due for removing in-tree VMware vSphere.
I just added a comment. It's merged. The volume plugin is gone. There is still the cloud provider. I'm not sure if it's up to us to remove it or the cloud provider does it.
Okay. Should we keep tracking it for this cycle to finish the cleanup work?
Okay.
Okay. Maybe some.
The removal of cloud provider will also disable the tests.
Yep.
So should we keep tracking it or?
We haven't been tracking it for the other cloud providers, so I don't know if it is useful.
Got it. Okay, so it's probably sounds like bug level work, and we could do that separately. Okay, I think I'm okay with that, and it looks like the same thing is true for Azure files, so I'm gonna go ahead and just mark these as completed then.
Yep.
Best kind of planning, work's already done. All right, jumping to Ceph RBD and Ceph FS are due in 131, so these are just placeholders for the next cycle. Then we have CSI migration Portworx. This kind of fell off the map for us. I think the Portworx folks disappeared. Target beta on by default in 129, stay as beta off.
So I asked Grant in last release, that time he was saying they don't have plan to move it to on by default yet, so I can check with him again and see what is their plan for this.
I wonder if we should have a plan on deprecating, since they're like one of the last plugins still left.
All right, okay,
Like
maybe,
you can ask them if they are fine if we deprecate and remove the support
okay, yeah, okay, I'll
in,
ask him.
I don't know, 32.
We should probably set some like timeline to say like, hey, if it's not done by this date, we're just gonna have to pull it.
Mhm. Okay, do we have a date? Do we want to talk about a date or what do you
So
want
where
to
are
do?
they right now? They're currently
Right
in,
now, it is a beta off by default.
so if they do beta on by default this cycle and then GA the cycle after, so 131, then 132 or 133, they should be able to remove.
Right, but that is if they decide to go
Let's say
by default,
one,
right? Well,
maybe we
so
just
that
set the line. We say 133 is when we're planning to remove. So let's kind of put a stake in the ground.
133, okay.
Okay, thanks for the follow-up on that, Ching. Next is always honor reclaim policy. This was moving from alpha to beta. Last update was may not be able to complete it for 129. I think Deepak was working on this. Do we know if he is still interested?
I will check with him. He is looking at the E2E test.
Okay,
Let me see what he is. Yeah, let me check. Get back.
sounds good. Okay, so I'll track this and then we can remove it if it turns out that we don't have an owner. Next is volume attribute class. I think this missed the last cycle, so
Oh, it is alpha.
oh, it is alpha.
Yeah.
Okay, so then let me fix the status from the last cycle. Volume attribute class was done. Okay, so then the question is, do we want to keep it in alpha or do we want to move it to beta?
We can check with them, but I think probably needs to stay
Alpha for a
in
cycle.
alpha because yeah, we're still I think the resizer sidecar we're still trying to merge a fix there for this. So
Okay, sounds good. I
need more
think
time.
let's just keep it in alpha. Do we want to track it here or should I just cross it out? I guess for the resizer changes and whatnot that need to go in.
It might be good to still
Keep
keep
track.
track of this. This has a lot of changes, a lot of entry changes as well.
Okay. Okay, so then we'll keep it here and we'll track it for this cycle. Next is robust volume manager reconstruction. I believe, I forget what the last status was, whether this was beta off by default, beta on by default, or
It was beta on by default.
okay.
And I think we can go GA.
Okay.
Need to figure out who. If we can, I would like to go to GA.
Okay.
And I will figure out if we can. Yeah, it was one release on by default already. So we can go GA.
Got it. And I guess we would need to find an owner for this one, or Jan, would you own it?
Or yeah, I can try.
Okay. Cool, thank you, Jan. Next, we have PV last phase transition time. This was moved to beta. And
Yeah. We need to wait one release.
wait. Okay, so I'm gonna just cross this one out. Or we can put a consider beta in 131. Or sorry, GA.
Mhm.
And then I'll cross this out and then we can have it as a record for next time. Okay, next is storage capacity scoring. This was supposed to be a design, but I think it didn't get a lot of traction. So I think the design was in progress.
Yeah, I see the author pinned Michelle recently for maybe for the cap update. So it's kind of ongoing, but we're not sure if he want to target alpha when you check with him.
Okay. Let's say kept awaiting review, need to understand the role for the cycle or something. Okay, we'll keep it and then once we have Michelle back, we can get an update on that one. Okay, next is volume expansion for stateful sets. I think we were looking for an owner for this one. I believe that's still the case. Is that right, Hemant?
Yeah, that's still the case. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. So for folks on the call, if you are interested, this is an opportunity to jump in on a feature. The idea here is to support volume expansion using stateful sets directly rather than at a lower level. If you are interested, reach out to Hemant and he can kind of get you oriented, or any of us, Shing, myself, or Jan, and we can help you get oriented. So I'll leave the status here as looking for volunteers. Okay, next up is non-graceful node shutdown.
Yeah, so that's still the same. There is this PR getting really close. Just to, I need to pin. Yeah, so Ashtosh has this PR out. Basically, just need to fix the CI failures and get that merged. I need to ping him again.
So keep tracking that. Next up is auto delete PVCs with stateful sets. This was decided to keep in beta for longer while we try to get more feedback, positive or negative, on the feature. I'm gonna uncross it out and see if we want to keep it for this cycle.
Yeah, I think you check with Matt and Michelle and see if we have got any feedback yet.
Yep, that makes sense. Okay, so we'll wait on getting more feedback on that one. Next is add option to disable 6-minute force detach timer. Still planning to get the second PR in, targeting 130. Necessary doc changes pending. So
Yeah, I need to check in with Rohit again. He hasn't mentioned anything about this, so I suspect he's just distracted, but I'll remind him this needs doing.
Yep, that makes
So
sense.
I think he intends to.
Okay, sounds good. Next, we have cozy bucket quota.
So we don't really need this the quota thing anymore because we just need to change the documentation because it's going to be hidden under the parameters. But cozy team did talk about trying to work on moving to beta, but there are a lot of things, right? So I'm not sure if we want to track it here, but we did start to look at what E2E tests are needed for that.
Okay, I think we should track that overall. So cozy
Okay.
overall move to beta. And then I'll cross out the quota thing. Okay, who's the primary driver for this one?
So Sid is he's the lead for cozy.
Okay.
And there are a few other people working on that.
Good. Try to move cozy to beta for 0. Okay, sounds good. Next is CSI sidecar all-in-one. I think last status here, Mauricio will put together milestones and plans to break and work breakdown. Need help from community to work on this. Manu may want to help, so looking for volunteers. Let's leave it at that for now. Next is quality of service for volume CSI spec. This was completed a while ago as alpha.
Oh, sorry. Why do we have this here? Is it the same as the volume attributes class?
Oh, good point. I think this was just me going back, looking at the tabs and trying to find if we missed anything. Yeah, I think this is the same as volume attributes. Yeah, and attributes. So attributes class and quality of service. Yeah, okay, I'm going to delete the quality of service. Okay, next is robust volume manager reconstruction, beta on by default.
That's also there on line 16.
Line 16.
Yep.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
And the next one is on line 17, giving last phase transition time.
17. Yep. Okay. Great. And then last one here is control volume mode conversion between source and target PVC.
Yeah, so we are targeting GA 1.30.
Okay. And is Ronak?
Yeah, Ronak is working on that.
Perfect. Okay. This is standard for now.
Oh, should we change the target status?
Okay.
There's the 1.29, 1.28 there. The heading says 1.29, 1.28.
Good catch. Okay, cool. Thank you for the help in updating that. Anybody else have any other items that they'd like to bring up?
Well, it's sort of related. I added to the agenda. What about volume populators? They are beta for, I don't know, 2 years already. And we should drive them to GA. Problem is that I don't have
one of the requirements we originally put in the KEP for volume populators was that a necessary or one of the prerequisites for going from beta to GA was some actual volume populators are implemented in use. And I actually don't know if that has happened.
So I know OpenEBS has a implementation.
Okay.
And Kubernetes also has one.
Oh, Kubernetes has
okay.
one? Okay,
Yeah.
that's good. Right?
Yeah. So So if we can just point to the ones that are in use and that they're happy with the current design, then that seems good enough to pour the concrete on the API and declare it GA.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if there's any work missing in the populator library or anything there.
So the biggest gap that I'm aware of is that there are storage vendors who would like to be able to implement like vendor specific features using something like volume populators, and the design doesn't facilitate that because there's no corresponding CSI level change to allow like passing through the actual details of the data source to the CSI plugin. And at the CSI level, we've resisted doing that because it would represent like an API wormhole that you could do all kinds of weird stuff with. So I don't know how to resolve this. Like, it's storage vendors are not thrilled with the current limitation, but at the CSI layer, we don't have a solution that would make people happy. So maybe we just accept the volume populators only solves the, half the problem that it does solve, and leaves aside that other problem. But that, I just wanted to throw that out there, is that's the one remaining issue that I'm aware of, and there is no solution to my knowledge to that problem without opening up a wormhole in the CSI API, which we're opposed to.
I would be fine to have the populators as they are.
Okay. Yeah. Then I fully support moving to GA, and I guess that's going to involve some a couple PRs to change the API versions of objects and more releases of libraries and sidecars probably. So we just need to get a volunteer to do that work. It sounds like a pretty small amount of work.
So Ben, the information that you shared, so is there a way with the current volume populators is that if the volume is pre-populated, we just use volume populator to tell where the source is, where the storage is pre-populating the volume, and we don't need to spin up a container to populate the new volume?
So there are ways you can. There are ways that a storage vendor could use the existing populators approach by modifying the library without changing the CSI API to do that. Yes, I think that's what you're describing.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to point to a random source, and I want the storage binder itself to populate the volume and give it back to CSI, such that CSI doesn't need to spin up a container to do volume data transfer or any such thing. Yeah.
I mean, so we've discussed that approach, and it's not great, but it does work. And as I just mentioned, like, it would be nice if there was a better way to do it, but short of changing CSI itself, I don't see it. So that's the best option that the current manifestation of populators would let you do. And I think it sounds like the community feeling is that's where we want to leave it.
Okay. Thanks, Ben.
Oh, hey, sorry. I joined super late to the conversation, so I totally missed all of the populator discussion that was happening just now. But I just wanted to point out that actually we have some use cases where we want to use the volume populator feature, and so I would be happy to take over the feature and move it to GA.
Cool. Yeah.
I was waiting for a volunteer.
You joined at the right time, Michelle.
Yeah, and there's actually a bit of refactoring and stuff that I want to do. But yeah, so I'm happy to own this going forward.
That's great. Thank you, Michelle. The background before you joined was one of the requirements to get to GA was to make sure that we had some volume populators implemented. It looks like OpenEBS and KubeVirt are both implemented, so that hopefully should be addressed. And then Ben was pointing out that the biggest gap here for volume populators is that storage vendors want to be able to implement vendor-specific features using volume populators. but there are no corresponding CSI changes to enable that, and CSI is resistant to doing that because it creates a hole in the API, and we don't have a good solution for that. So vendors are not happy with the current limitation, and CSI doesn't have a solution, so that's something to consider.
So if I understand, the issue is we want the populator to be invoked as part of the create volume flow or the create volume call in the CSI driver, or
That's what storage vendors would like. The volume populator currently serves the sort of vendor neutral use case quite well, where you don't care what the storage is underneath it. You just want to get a volume of data. If the storage vendor wants to have like a proprietary vendor specific data source, you can't really do that cleanly in the current design. And I consider that unfortunate, but I think we just have to live with that.
so some of the refactoring that I plan to do might help with that. It may not, but basically the refactoring that I want to do is make it so that it's possible to not like to have more ways to invoke a populator function besides
Okay.
just creating a pod and having your populator function run in the pod. My intent is to add in an additional method where you can actually just invoke a function directly in the populator binary to do some custom logic that you want to do.
But would that happen before or after an empty volume is created through CSI?
It would happen after an empty volume is created.
Okay. Yeah. So I think the fundamental issue is there are storage vendors that would like to be able to do it before the volume is created, so that they can skip the step of creating an empty volume and go straight to creating the volume with data in it using some magical vendor specific trick.
And storage class is not good enough. They want a per volume kind of thing.
They want to key off the contents of the data source so they know exactly what to put in that volume.
I see.
So,
yeah. I guess I'm not tackling that issue.
No, I don't think it's possible to tackle it again without CSI changes.
Yeah, and I think we should handle that like on a case-by-case basis. Like we did it for Snapshot, right? Snapshot allows you to basically specify a source. You don't have to provision the volume, and storage can optimize for populating the volume correctly. If there are other ways of doing that that are generic across multiple vendors, we can introduce something like snapshots. But introducing a generic hole doesn't make sense. Okay, thank you folks for the discussion on this one. Any other topics or any other items we want to add for 130? Okay, with that, I'll go ahead and switch back to our agenda doc. We don't have any designs for review, but we did have a few PRs. Bharat, do you want to talk about these?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, sir. So these PRs are for adding the GCP tags on the resources created by file store and the PDCSI drivers. There is already a feature for adding the labels. This is an additional one for that GCP tags.
Michelle, can you ping Matt to
help? Yeah, I'll do that.
Thank you. All right, thanks, Barth.
Thank you.
And with that, we'll switch over to miscellaneous topics. Xing, you want to go with the first one?
I think I already discussed those.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
I added the yeah.
And volume populator has also been addressed. Great.
Yeah.
All right.
I do have one more question for Michelle.
Sure.
So for Cozy, we're looking at what kind of ETB tests we need to add. Does that need to be in a cap, or what do you think?
Like if you want to add a test plan to the existing cap, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, I think so. Someone from that side has started a Google Doc, so we can maybe we can start to review that and see what we want to do with that, whether to add that as part of the existing cap or start a new one. All right, thanks.
Yeah, I don't think it has to be a new cap.
Okay.
Just modifying the existing one would be good.
Okay. I think the only difference is because there isn't a framework over there, right? So this is like, it's not like just adding what we're going to test, but also add how we're going to test it. But anyway, we can maybe look at the doc and then decide. We can discuss that later. Okay, thanks.
Cool. Thank you, Shane. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a good one.